as mutual strikes between Israel and the Houthis in Yemen intensify, resulting in a temporary halt to air traffic at Negev airport. The Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip continues unabated. Meanwhile, Lebanon is still seeking a way out of its current crisis through a decision to disarm Hezbollah, a move that the group has categorically rejected in its latest statements. Join our special coverage on Qnews, where we tackle the latest developments around the world. Israeli media has reported that a drone fired from Yemen struck the passenger hall at Ramon Airport in the Negev. The Israeli Airports Authority responded by closing the airspace above Ramon Airport, halting all flight operations. Additionally, the Israeli sources revealed that 4 drones were launched from Yemen, with the military detecting and intercepting 3 of them. This escalation underscores the growing threat of the cross-border drone attacks targeting critical Israeli infrastructure. The airspace closure reflects heightened security measures to protect passengers and airport facilities amid ongoing regional tensions. Authorities continue to monitor the situation closely to prevent further incursions and ensure public safety. Israeli airspace above Ramon Airport has been closed to traffic with no immediate explanation from the Israeli Airport Authority. The military is investigating a reported drone crash at the airport. An Israeli news outlet, Channel 12, has reported that 4 drones were launched from Yemen, but the army was only able to detect and intercept 3 of them. And Egypt has dispatched its 31st aid convoy under the Zaid el-Izza, or the Provision of Honor, from Egypt to Gaza, the initiative from Rafah to Gaza via Kerem Abu Salem border crossing. The Egyptian Red Crescent's convoy carries several trucks of urgent humanitarian aid. The convoy includes 2,500 tons of essential aid, consisting of over 2,200 tons of food baskets and flour and more than 200 tons of medical supplies needed by the Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the Israeli army is deepening its incursion into the outskirts and interior of Gaza City, claiming that around 100,000 people have left the city. Amid growing international criticism of Israel over its operations in the Gaza Strip, Netanyahu acknowledged that he is aware of the price we are paying on the diplomatic and media fronts for the state of Israel. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid has criticized Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's government for bombing Gaza towers instead of negotiating detainee releases. Lapid stated that a deal is on the table, supported by negotiators and Israeli military chief of staff Eyal Zamir, with Hamas ready for either a full or partial agreement. He accused the government of not even attempting to bring detainees home or engage in meaningful talks, simply ignoring the opportunity. Lapid mocked Netanyahu's administration, noting that it held more meetings last month to fund flights to Oman than to secure the detainees' freedom. His remarks highlight deep frustration over the government's handling of the Gaza conflict and detainee crisis. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said that the war in Gaza could end if detainees were released and Hamas laid down its weapons. During a press conference with his Danish counterpart, Saar stated that peace with the Palestinians can only be achieved through bilateral understandings. He claimed that the recognition of a Palestinian state by other countries does not bring peace any closer. And Hamas has announced the conclusion of its delegation's visit to Egypt, aimed at ending the genocidal war on Gaza and halting escalating Israeli aggression in the West Bank and occupied Jerusalem. And according to a Hamas statement, the delegation met with the Palestinian factions, civil society groups, prominent figures, and businessmen to strengthen consultations, foster joint action, and develop a national roadmap. The factions agreed to enhance collaboration and outline a unified plan for the post-war period, while continuing efforts to end the conflict and support Gaza's residents. Hamas emphasized that the visit coincided with the intensified Israeli crimes in Gaza, including systematic destruction and forced displacement policies. Also, Hamas has reaffirmed its right to armed resistance, refusing to disarm unless a fully sovereign Palestinian state was established. Hamas expressed readiness for a long-term ceasefire with Israel and a comprehensive deal ending the war, involving the release of all detainees, living and deceased, in exchange for Palestinian detainees. That comes as Hamas is prepared for an agreement leading to Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza or a sustained truce. That came after a Hamas delegation recently visited Egypt to coordinate a national roadmap amid the ongoing Israeli assault on Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem. This visit aimed to end Israel's offensive and halt escalating aggression. The statement responds to Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar's claim that disarmament and detainee release could end the war immediately. Gaza-based health authorities have announced that the death toll from the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip has climbed to over 64,300 and over 162,700 were wounded. The Gaza Ministry of Health has reported that hospitals on the Gaza Strip have received 87 dead and 409 others injured in the past 24 hours. The Gaza Ministry of Health has reported that 31 were dead and 132 wounded as a result of the Israeli bombing of 8 centers in the last 24 hours. It also reported that the number of victims from the bombing of 8 centers has risen to more than 2,400 deaths and more than 17,700 wounded. And hospitals in the Gaza Strip have recorded 5 deaths, including 3 children, due to famine and malnutrition in the past 24 hours. And according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, the total number of deaths from famine and malnutrition has risen to 387 Palestinians, including 138 children. And for further analysis, we are joined from Cairo by the political science professor, Dr. Ayman El-Raqab. Welcome to Qnews, sir. Sir, how do you view the major Israeli escalation and attacks on the Gaza Strip in the recent days?
After greetings, of course, Netanyahu and his government improved the operation, which is invading north valley of Gaza, like Gaza City, Jabalia, Beit Hanun, and Beit Lahia. We've seen the occupation is escalating. The operations in Zaytun wal Sabra, and he's now moving to the second phase of destroying sky dives, and also he's completing his intention of completely destroying Gaza.
Sir, do you think is it possible that we will see Israeli strikes on Yemen following the Houthi attacks on the Negev?
For sure, the occupation during the last recent days struck significantly Houthis and targeted their political leaders, but it's not far away to after the drone is to respond the strikes in Yemen, which is natural for operation for the occupation who strikes everywhere. Their policy is attacking, not defense. Therefore, they succeed in attacking and not but failing in defense. Therefore, it's expected to launch attacks in the coming days.
And how do you interpret Sir Netanyahu's statements about 100,000 Palestinians leaving the Gaza Strip?
He was talking about those who left from the north to the south. He's talking about 100,000 and until the number until now is not exceeding more than 10%, and he's mentioning 101,000. Some of them returned again to the north because there is no empty space to put their tents and also no availability of tents. So there is still more than 1 million in the north refuse to go to the south.
Sir, do you think that the ceasefire negotiations have completely collapsed?
Today we followed that there is attempts from Cairo, Doha, and intensive calls to discuss comprehensive proposal to completely cease fire, and we have new mediator, Israeli U.S. Called Baskin. He was in a mediator in 2014. He is trying to reach a new agreement this time, despite that the Palestinian mediator Bashar said that Netanyahu doesn't want to stop the war, to end the war. Therefore, there is efforts from Cairo and Doha with the Americans to reach a comprehensive agreement. And a Hamas delegation was in Cairo yesterday and left today and discussed the comprehensive agreement and how it will be conducted.
Dr. Ayman, if you can just stay with us. There's breaking news right now. As we can see on the screen, there is an Israeli strike targeting El Roya Tower in the Gaza Strip as part of the attacks announced by the occupation army against the high-rise buildings in the Strip.
וואלה, חתיכת פיבר, זה מה שהם יודעים לשלוח התימנים. וואלה, הזנב שלו לא יורה עליו. וואו!
As we can see on the screen at the moment, there is an Israeli strike targeting El Roya Tower in the Gaza Strip as part of the attacks announced by the occupation army against high-rise buildings in the Strip. And we are back again with Dr. Ayman Al-Raqab. Sir, as we were saying, let me get back to a question. How do you view the repeated Israeli attacks on the residential towers in the Gaza Strip, as we just saw on the screen?
Occupation is started the new phase of destroying high-rise buildings since 2 days. Have been announcing statements in the north to North Gaza to move to south, and it's targeting the high-rise buildings. Their justifications are unreasonable because as it includes explosive devices and as well as including CCTVs. Of course, all of these are allegations to justify destruction. And since days they are threatening to target high-rise buildings, and now they started to doing this already. They are high-rise buildings uprising to 15 levels or floors. destroying one building is about destroying 700 to 800 families, which they want to do to pressure civilians to leave Gaza.
Sir, is there a possibility that the U.S. president could take action to stop the war in Gaza at this point of time?
Unfortunately, we are convinced that the U.S. administration is directing this war, titled Israel, but managed by the U.S., whether the U.S. state minister in Tel Aviv at all indicates that they are managing this war, but they are only saying every while that they want to end the war, but in reality the U.S. administration is the one giving the green light to continue this war.
And how do you view Hamas's announcement of its readiness to end the war if an agreement is reached?
Of course, Hamas agreed more than 2 weeks on U.S. proposal, 6 Gulf, by the mediation of Cairo and Doha, and agreed as it is, but those who rejected it was the U.S. and Israel. But we're following a comprehensive agreement, but it wants to guarantee the end of war, but not to release detainees because they need safeguards and guarantees to end the war. We have experienced another agreement on the 26th of last January. Until this moment, Israel is still invading Lebanese villages. That's why Israel wants a safeguard of Israeli completely withdrawal of Gaza Strip.
And that was Dr. Ayman Al-Raqab from Cairo, the political science professor. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Q News. And now we move to the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين. وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
The Lebanese government announced that the army will begin implementing the Hezbollah disarmament plan according to its limited capabilities, while keeping the details confidential. Meanwhile, Lebanese Information Minister Paul Marwan confirmed that the Lebanese army will start executing the plan, but within the available logistical, material and human resources, which are ultimately limited, without specifying any set timelines. The Israeli army announced the establishment of a training site on the Golan Heights in northern Israel, modeled after villages in southern Lebanon. The Israeli army said that the new site allows its forces to train at different levels, involving small infantry teams and armored tactical battalions. Hezbollah official Mahmoud Qomati told Reuters that the party views the cabinet session discussing the army's plan to confine weapons to the hands of the state as an opportunity to return to wisdom and rationality. However, Hezbollah sources told Reuters that the party rejects handing over its weapons and expects the government to present a national security strategy. The French Foreign Ministry welcomed the Lebanese government's adoption of the plan proposed by the army to restore the state's exclusive control over weapons across its entire territory. France called on all Lebanese parties to support the peaceful and immediate implementation of this plan, with the aim of moving forward towards a stable, sovereign, rebuilt and prosperous Lebanon. And for further analysis, we are joined now from Beirut by the international relations researcher, Mr. Abdullah Nama. Welcome to Q News, sir. Sir, do you think it's possible for the Lebanese government to achieve its goal of disarming Hezbollah?
Good afternoon for you and for all Qnews staff. We know that the meeting held on Friday was crucial, meaning that the government endorsed the military plan to disarm, to surrender Hezbollah's arms on all Lebanon. There was back and forth a lot and withdrawal, Shi'i withdrawal. Two ministers were withdrawn, and then Amman ministers were withdraw themselves as well. But government stayed and endorsed the military plan to surrender their arms on all Lebanon, including Hezbollah and others. Meaning that this decision was welcomed from President Nabih Berri and from Hezbollah itself. I think this holds a long truce.
Mr. Nama, how do you view Hezbollah's statement regarding the government's decision to disarm the group?
We know that a 19701 resolution Hezbollah signed with President Nabih Berri and the Shi'is faction to on disarmament, this resolution, and the statement of presidency endorsed by Hezbollah includes disarmament. And when electing and forming the government, also Hezbollah's arms are surrendered, which was endorsed by Hezbollah. Now the president is implementing what the by Shi'i figures agreed on.
Sir, do you think we can see a new escalation in confrontations between Israel and Hezbollah soon? Do you think there will be?
I don't think there will be confrontations because there is a meeting in Nowhere today on the borders between Lebanon and Israel, attended by the U.S. envoy to the Middle East with the mediators of the U.S. With Morgan Ortagus and President, of course, and military commander in order to tackle this matter of disarmament. The meeting of Noor is to activate the fifth commission that will endorse or implement the agreement between Lebanon and Israel, because in order to have a coordination between UNIFIL and UNIFIL and the Fifth Commission and Israel from the other side. I think today there is a large tour of aviation tour from General and the military and Martin Ortagus and Lebanese leaders and UNIFIL leaders and had a tour with helicopters on the south to see what happened and welcomed the Lebanese military plan endorsed by the Lebanese government.
Mr. Nama, do you think it's possible that Hezbollah might ignite internal unrest in Lebanon to disrupt the disarmament process maybe?
I do not think so, because Hezbollah agreed and President Nabih Berri agreed and welcomed the endorsement of military plan because it satisfied the Shias parties, because it's made for them mainly, and this is a cook, I think, between with the support or under the watch of the ministerial cabinet, Israel welcomed the military plan and the government endorsement. As long as Israel welcomed, and the U.S. today arrived and welcomed, sent to the military delegation, and Martin Ortega's, I think the coming days will start the implementation of 19701 resolution with Martin Ortega's presence in Lebanon to see what equipments have in order to for the U.S. to help, and also Yazid bin Farhan, the assistant to the Saudi Arabia Foreign Ministry, will arrive in order to implement 19701 resolution of reconstruction. Also, the envoy Macron, French envoy to Lebanon, is arriving. France will hold two conferences, one to support Lebanese military, and to support, and the other one is to reconstruct Lebanon. I think this disarmament will implemented by the end of this year.
Do you think, sir, it's possible that Israel will withdraw from southern Lebanon eventually in the near future, or has this presence become permanent, do you think?
For sure, the first phase of implementing the military plan from now till by the end of the year until December, the military will be deployed everywhere to disarm. I think until implementing this first phase, there will be an Israeli military invasion from 5 points. They may only withdraw from 1 or 2 points only, but we will go back to what they agreed, in front of in return of every step of Lebanon, there will be another step from Israel. So they agreed on the military plan, and I think as long as Amal movement and Hezbollah do not have any problem, I think it will go along. I think in Lebanon as matters will go forward, and I think may God forbid we'll have a confrontation between us and Israel. I think 20 days from now we will start the disarmament for 15 days between the truce between Israel and Lebanon for 15 days to start 19701 resolution implementation. This is what is proposed, and this is what we see right now in the Middle East.
How do you, sir, see, now I'm going to move to another issue in Lebanon, which is the economic crisis that Lebanon has been suffering from for years. How do you think, sir, this can be resolved?
Of course, in Lebanon, from the U.S. And from international community and France, we are promised that once we start to disarm Hezbollah and Lebanon starts implementing the military plan, and there's no arms except for the government, there will be support from Arab countries and European countries for reconstruction and economic situation and everything, because this is what was promised to Lebanon, especially from Saudi Arabia, because now Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and even Emirates, they have tour of all Arab countries and welcomed and will support Lebanon, but the U.S. stopped this assistance until Lebanon and issuing a statement to disarm Hezbollah. Of course, no one will help support a country with other forces inside Lebanon. So now we will have the only legislative arms and weapons inside Lebanon, so everyone will support us. When Israel withdraw from 5 points, we will see the issue of assistance and support in Lebanon. We know Lebanon is inside is a cultural and knowledge country, is not war country, Lebanese people were put in a position that not theirs.
And that was Mr. Abdullah Nama from Beirut, international relations researcher. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today on Q News. And with that, that brings us to the end of our special coverage for tonight. And don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EG to stay informed. And thank you for watching. And stay tuned for more updates on Q News.